All right, let's dive into a story that's pretty wild. It starts at what was supposed to be a quiet dinner in Florida, but it ends with threats of missile strikes and even nuclear fallout. We're talking about some seriously controversial remarks from Pakistan's Army Chief General Asim Munir that sent real shockwaves around the world. So you gotta ask, right? How on earth does an after-dinner speech in front of the Pakistani community in Florida suddenly blow up into a global incident? Well, it all started with what the general himself said. So yeah, let's get right into the words themselves. Because the controversy here wasn't some misunderstanding or a slip of the tongue. Oh no. It was a series of very direct and frankly startling statements. To really get the impact, you have to picture the scene. This was not some formal military press conference. We're talking a black-tie dinner in Tampa, Florida. And the speaker, General Asim Munir, isn't just any official. He's the chief of Pakistan's incredibly powerful army. So it's that mix of a kind of informal setting and a top military man that made what he said next so explosive. And this is where the speech took a very, very sharp turn. The general went from making, standard remarks to throwing out a series of direct threats and some pretty provocative metaphors. I mean, listen to this. This wasn't some vague "will respond" kind of threat. He reportedly named a specific target, a dam that India plans to build, and then gave a number, 10 missiles. He apparently even added, "We have no shortage of missiles." That kind of specificity is, well, it's startling. And if you thought that was intense, it didn't stop there. This next statement, while a bit more indirect, was seen by many as even more chilling. That phrase, "take half the world down with us," I mean, there's really only one way to interpret that in this context, and that's as a pretty clear nod to using nuclear weapons if Pakistan felt it was facing a true crisis. So alongside these huge military threats, he uses this really strange, unforgettable metaphor. He supposedly compared India to a sleek, shiny Mercedes. And Pakistan, his own country, he called it a truck full of gravel. As you can imagine, that single analogy just lit up the internet, with everyone debating what on earth he could have meant by that. And just when you think the speech couldn't get any more unconventional, he expanded his warnings. He went beyond just military targets and specifically named a person, the Indian industrialist Mukesh Ambani. By doing that, General Munir brought in a whole new economic dimension to the threats, which just made the whole thing even more bizarre and controversial. Words like these, they don't just hang in the air, right? The political fallout was fast, and it came from all over the place, causing some immediate turbulence. So the reactions were all over the map. The Indian government officially kept quiet, sticking to diplomatic protocol. But the Indian opposition? They were loud and sharply critical. But what's really interesting is that the backlash wasn't just coming from India, it was also coming from inside the Pakistani community itself. One of the most pointed criticisms came from the Indian politician Asaduddin Owaisi. He used a Hindi term to describe the general's language, sarak chop. Now, that word translates to something like street thug, and it carries this sense of being really coarse, reckless, and just not how a leader should talk. It shows you just how badly the rhetoric was received. Owaisi even called for India to boost its defense budget because of it. And the dissent wasn't just limited to political speeches. It became super public. A plane literally flew a banner that said, "Resign Asim Munir," over a cricket match. I mean, that's a highly visible way to protest. It's really powerful evidence that the general's words created a huge backlash, not just in other countries, but among parts of the Pakistani community too. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. Why did this one speech cause such an enormous uproar? Let's unpack the bigger picture here and figure out why this became way more than just a passing headline. So why did this matter so much? Well, for one, the threats were just unprecedentedly direct. And the location was key. They were made on U.S. soil, which immediately jacks up the diplomatic stakes. It also created this bizarre situation where, in intelligence circles, it was being analyzed as a serious, destabilizing event. But on social media, The exact same words were turned into memes and became a total source of ridicule. This speech wasn't just a news story, it actually changed the temperature in the region. And all of this leaves us with a really critical question at the heart of the whole thing. In a region as famously volatile as South Asia, were these just the rambling outlier comments of one guy having a bad night, or are these explosive words actually a symptom of a much deeper, more worrying instability that's brewing just under the surface?